to order. If you would, please rise and join me in pledging allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Cron, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Vance Clemens? Here. Mr. Casper?
Here.
Mrs. Cullen?
Here.
Mr. Krause?
Here.
Mrs. Miller? Here. Mr. Goma? Mrs. Schmidt? Here. Mrs. Yardley? Here. Dr. Yarnell?
Here. Thank you. We'll move to student and staff recognition. Dr. Raddick?
Great. Thank you, Dr. Yarnell. I'm going to ask Mr. Daubert to join me down at the podium. I'd also like to call one of our directors down to the podium. This is Gina Giaratana. Every board meeting, as you know, we like to honor staff and or students who have gone above and beyond or have received some special recognition. So Mr. Daubert and I are here tonight to let you know about Gina Giaratana. She was named Director of the Year in Pennsylvania by the School Nutrition Association for her career accomplishments in school food services. She will be honored next month at the group's annual conference in San Antonio. Gina has been with us as Director of Nutritional Services since 2011, and she's done a fantastic job in providing well-balanced menus for students and staff while complying with the ever-changing state and federal regulations. She has also done a wonderful job delivering these services at no cost to the taxpayers. Her department is completely self-sufficient. Gina often goes well beyond her job description. She has developed a student-run garden that produces fresh vegetables that are used in the cafeteria at West Rock Hill, and an after-school cooking club at Dibler that might just be grooming the next great Food Network star. Before coming to Pennridge, Gina worked for the Southern Lehigh School District, where she turned a $40,000 loss into a $35,000 surplus in less than a year. Gina, congratulations on your award. We are fortunate to have you as part of the Pennridge family and look forward to many more years of your service. Let's give her a round of applause. Gina will be presented with a certificate of achievement at a later date. Mr. Furry, you would like a picture?
All three of you, please. Perfect. Thanks.
Mrs. Giantara, I would also like to thank you for your efforts at the Upper Bucks County Technical School. I know they appreciate what you have done for them for a less or a more troubled program than perhaps this one was when you came here. So certainly I believe they too would recognize this honor. Thank you. At this point, we'll move to comments and questions from guests. The Pennridge School Board welcomes public comment according to policy 903. We remind everyone of the following. Public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise specified by the board. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and note their name and municipality. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer rather than to individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. The speaker may speak once during each public comment period. Please note that these sessions are designed for comments to protect the confidentiality, privacy rights of all members of the community. The board encourages members of the public to direct any comments regarding particular individuals such as students, district employees, and particularly privately to the superintendent or other appropriate administrator, or to communicate with the board privately by sending an email to the board@pennridge.org. Questions raised and not addressed may be followed up at a later time. There were no names on the list outside, as I understand it. We will be moving the Finance Committee portion of this meeting to the front of the committee reports. So at this point, if there's anyone who wants to comment on the budget, now is the time. If I see no one else rushing to the podium, then we'll move forward with the consent calendar. Are there any of the items on the consent calendar, items A through I, that board members want voted on separately? Mrs. Miller.
I actually just have a question, Mrs. McKellen. Number 96, it's listed as a summer employee with no end date. Does that mean it's a permanent employee, or is that a typo?
This is in the superintendent's report. Where are you looking?
The personnel report. Oh, am I jumping ahead here?
No, I'm asking which.
It's the personnel report, line 96. It's listed as a summer employee with no end date.
I would say that's a typo. That is a summer helper.
Okay, I guess it can still move forward, correct, Dr. Henry?
Yes. Any other items that people would like voted on separately? If not, all those in favor of the consent calendar? Aye. I'm sorry, we don't have a motion. I apologize. My mistake, rushing through to get done in this warm summer evening. All right, let's take a motion first for the consent calendar. Dead silence. Thank you. Moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. Any comments or questions on further questions or comments?
I
Mrs.
just have a
Yard.
comment on the personnel report. Also, number 99 has the same,
Oh, the same problem.
yeah, as number
But it's
96. Right, a summer helper. So I just wanted to make note of that.
Yeah, again, I think, I know that they are only here for the summer, which would take them to the same end date as the others. Looks like August 19th is the end date for all the summer workers.
There is one person who's through August 26th.
95, number 95.
Yeah, I think some of the tech workers were staying on a little longer.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions on this, on the various items of the consent calendar? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 980. Next item, student liaison report. We do not have a student here tonight. I would note that three of us, Mrs. Banis Clemens and Mrs. Miller and I, met with the incoming student leaders concerning the student liaison. I expect that they will resume an active role in our board meetings and hopefully committee meetings as well in the fall. They certainly seem like they're energized to do so. So we look forward to that perhaps at the September meeting. For the President's report, well, as I mentioned, it's a hot evening, and it is the summer solstice, but sometimes it seems like Groundhog Day to me. And I say that because, once again, we are 11 days from the end of this fiscal year, not only for the district, but for the state. The state is relatively quiet about what the situation is with their budget. I understand from organizations like Pennridge that they believe that they are in the process of negotiating toward an endpoint. And I believe Pennridge speculated, and please take that as speculation, that it probably wouldn't happen by the 4th of July. It probably will happen by Labor Day, and certainly should happen before Christmas. So hopefully that means that it won't wait until April or May, as it did this year, and that it will have a more positive outcome. I think one of the things that the people in Harrisburg believe is happening is both sides to the impasse have a bit more of an understanding of what the other side wants and needs out of these negotiations. So nevertheless, tonight we hope to pass a budget as we are required to by law before the end of the fiscal year. Part of that is very self-serving, and that is that it's a fund balance or a cash flow issue. Obviously, if you don't get out the tax bills The money does not start arriving at the district. Most people won't send it to us without a bill. I know that that's an issue because I do pay school taxes in another Pennsylvania district upstate, and for whatever reason, they rarely get their bills out before the end of July. The consequence of that is that the discount period extends to the end of September. It works well for me. I wouldn't think it would work quite so well for the school district, so I'm glad that we're not there. I also want to again emphasize, from my perspective, we are making real progress toward eliminating the structural deficit in the budget that has been at issue for a number of years. Now I will mention something else, and that is graduation. Perhaps Dr. Rattigan is going to touch on this as well, I don't know, but I think our graduation at Stapler Arena on Tuesday night, the 14th, Flag Day, went very well. Our students were well behaved. Our parents and others who attended it were also very well behaved. It was a nice evening. It's one of the great pleasures of being a board member to be able to hand out diplomas, and particularly when things go as well as they did that night. I want to thank Ms. DeBona. I know she was a bit panicked over this adventure, but everything turned out extremely well, at least as far as I know. If not, she did it well, so we'll assume that it worked out well. So I want to thank the administration, and particularly high school administration, for that pleasant evening. In terms of right-to-know requests, there are at least 5 that are actively being engaged. And do we have a safety committee meeting update tonight? Mr. Loeffler? Mrs. Burkholder?
Thank you, Dr. Ingham. The June Safety Committee was canceled. There are no meetings being over the summer. The next meeting will be held September 13th when we're back to school, which is the second Tuesday of September. That's my report.
Oh, thank you. Mrs. Burkholder?
Sure. The Safety and Security Committee meeting met on May 18th. We're in the process of revising all aspects of the current hazard plan. There's a variety of committees that are subcommittees actually breaking that down to look at all drills that are currently within the district and in all the buildings. We've also ordered 6 fobs and 6 master keys to be placed in all knock boxes throughout the district. Currently, many of them only have 1 master key and 1 fob. We have attendance of 6 Pennridge staff members going to the ALICE training scheduled for July 19th and 20th, which will be held at the Bucks County Intermediate Unit. In addition, we have ordered additional Raptor scanners and printers, 5 of each. They have been ordered and have arrived to cover in-building activities that require spectators during the day. So we'll have those on site for multiple buildings that may need them in the future.
Thank you. At this point, superintendent's report, Dr. Rattigan.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yarnell. I'd like to thank the Siler Elementary School for the district office room display. We'd also like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Owen for a donation of $3,534.62 to Siler Elementary School. The school plans to purchase guided reading books and tables. Before I share a couple of individual points of pride, I'd like to briefly mention 3 special events that occurred over the last month that were particularly noteworthy. I won't mention the 4th one since Dr. Yarnell already mentioned the graduation. But the first was our 2nd annual 21st Century Learning Night that showcased some of the innovative ways our teachers are incorporating technology into their curriculum to enhance learning at all levels throughout the district, from the way iPads are being used by 1st graders to digital graphics in our middle schools to touchscreen cash register app developed for Matt's Market at the high school. It was an amazing event. A couple of nights later, it was Da Vinci Day at night, highlighting a wide variety of research and presentation topics by our 9th graders. Again, I was amazed at the depth of knowledge and creativity displayed by these students as they gathered information that was of personal interest to them. One project that stood out in my mind, being a dog lover, was that Haley Murphy did for a dog suffering with hip dysplasia. What she did for less than $30, she designed and constructed a wheelchair that has given the 7-year-old German Shepherd a way to get around and live a normal life. And the German Shepherd was here. Just shows how much students can accomplish given the time and encouragement to pursue a passion. And finally, our life skills students teamed up with members of the football team to plant a pumpkin patch at the high school. They cleared the space of rocks and brush, dug furrows, and planted hundreds of seedlings that come fall, fingers crossed, will produce a harvest bountiful enough to allow every first grader in the district to take home their very own pumpkin. Congratulations to teachers Maria Gannon and Jeff Hollenbach for bringing their students together on such a wonderful project. So it was the football team helping the life skills class. Now on to individual points of pride. The Upper Bucks Technical School honored senior Jesse Sims as its Student of the Month for May. Jesse has been a member of the plumbing program for 3 years. He has been a regular first honors recipient, was inducted into the National Technical Honor Society, and has competed at Skills USA the last 2 years. Last December, the Pennridge Marching Rams Band lost a member of the band family, Taryn Klein, a freshman. Her passing impacted students, parents, and staff. During her time with the group, it was clear to all involved that Taryn truly loved music performance and had found a deep sense of pride as a band member. The Klein Freshman of the Year Award was established in her honor through a donation by a current band member family as a lasting tribute to her love of the band. The recipient, who is a current freshman, embodies the love of band and will be selected annually by vote of the current band members. In addition to the award, the recipient receives a financial stipend to help cover costs of being a Pennridge Marching Ram. On Friday, May 20th, at the annual Pennridge Music Association banquet, Alyssa Woodruff was recognized as the inaugural recipient of the award. Taryn's mom, Susan Klein, and grandmother, Virginia Pruitt, were on hand for the presentation to Alyssa. Congratulations to our baseball and volleyball teams for making it to the state playoffs. For the baseball team, it was their first trip to the state since 1987. So quite an accomplishment for both of these teams. Well done. Congratulations to West Rock Hill Elementary School cafeteria manager Lori Markloff on receiving a Caring Community Award from Bucks County Intermediate Unit 22. Lori has been working with the wonderful IU student Tylea Castle, who often attends our School Nutrition Association local chapter meetings and enjoys being a part of the Pennridge Nutritional Services family. Since Tylea is now graduating, next year we hope to have her on our substitute cafeteria worker list. Finally, artwork from 2 of our students, Isabella Rigomo and Alex Laughlin, has been chosen for publication in QNB Bank's 2017 Collector Calendar, Transportation Through the Years. Make sure you pick up a copy of the calendar when it is published later this year to see their wonderful artwork. So congratulations to all these students and staff.
Thank you. Moving on to the committee reports, as I mentioned before, we are going to rearrange our normal progression tonight in order to put the budget first. So that means that it's the Finance Committee. Mr. Casper, you're on.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met on June 6th, 2016. Tonight we have 21 motions. The first motion, as Dr. Yarnell just mentioned, is a motion to approve the final general fund budget for fiscal year 2016-17 with revenues of $130,245,398 and expenditures of $131,042,154. Also authorizes the use of $350,000 for a budgetary reserve commitment, $446,756 for transportation commitment, and also sets the tax rate at 135.2555 mils of real estate tax.
Thank you. Do we have a second to that proposed motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Moved and seconded to approve the general fund budget. Do we have comments or questions from board members? Mrs. Cohen.
Just a quick comment. I know that not everybody can go to the meetings throughout the year, but I just wanted to remind that this is the 6th iteration of this budget or version of the budget. It's been worked on for months and months, and I was impressed by how the different departments came and presented their budgets to us, and they all had reductions. They all tried really hard to cut their expenses. We also have in it some increase in staffing. Teachers, it was presented to us that the classrooms in the high school were beyond their capacity, that it wasn't just about making the class sizes smaller so it would be nicer for the students and the teachers. We actually physically didn't have the space, and we had gone through years where we cut sections out, and this year we decided to add some back in. So I was proud of what we accomplished, and again, I was impressed by how the different departments were able to move things around and cut their expenses, and I think everybody was pretty conscientious, so I just wanted to put that out there.
Any other board members have comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, we will then call the question. Mrs. Cron, this is a roll call vote.
Mr. Regoma?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Yarnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Manis Clemens?
No.
Mr. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Yardley?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 8-1. The budget will be put in place. I will sign this hopefully tonight or tomorrow morning. And Mr. Daubert, I appreciate all the effort along with the other administrators in putting it together, and you can send it off to Harrisburg. So we will be in compliance with the state requirement. Mr. Casper, moving on.
Thank you. The second motion is to approve the levying of taxes, which include the 1% earned income tax, the 1/2 of 1% real estate tax, transfer tax, and $5 local services tax.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Moved and seconded to approve the tax levy. Comments or questions from board members? No? At this point, again, I believe this is another roll call vote.
I recommend so.
I thought so. I think I heard that last year. So, Mrs. Cron, if you would, the roll call vote,
Okay,
please.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Regoma?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Yarnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Manis Clemens? Yes. Mr. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Yardley?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullen?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously, 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. The third motion is to approve the 2016 homestead and farmstead exclusion resolution.
Do we have a second to the exclusion resolution motion? Thank you, Mr. Kraus. Moved and seconded to approve the 2016 homestead and farmstead exclusion resolution. Comments or questions from board members? Not? I will note that that exclusion number is roughly $200, just a tad under $200 this year, just in case anyone needs to know. I'm sure Mr. Daubert could give us the exact figure, but that's what it amounts to. This too, I believe, should be a roll call vote, so Mrs. Cron, you're on again.
Mrs. Manis Clemens? Yes. Dr. Yarnell?
Yes.
Mr. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Yardley?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Regoma?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Thank you. Again, passing unanimously. Mr. Casper.
Thank you. Fourth motion is a motion to set the installment dates of August 31st, October 31st, and December 15th, 2016.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bergomo. Moved and seconded to approve the installment dates. Comments or questions for board members? If not, Mrs. Cron?
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Manis Clemens? Yes. Mr. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Yardley?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Regoma?
Yes.
Dr. Yarnell?
Yes. Thank you. That also is passed unanimously. Mr. Casper.
Thank you. Fifth motion is to approve the commitment of funds for the year ending 2015-2016, and that is motion 5A through E.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Moved and seconded to approve the fund commitment for the 5 separate funds listed in the agenda. Comments or questions from board members? If not, then we need yet another roll call vote.
Last one.
Last one, yes, I figured.
Okay. Mr. Regoma?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Yarnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Manis Clemens? Yes. Mr. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Yardley?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Thank you. Again, passed unanimously. Mr. Casper.
Thank you. The sixth motion is to approve the developed premiums for fiscal year 2016-217 as listed, and I just want to say that the developed premiums for our personal choice, basically for the health plans for our employees.
Thank you. Do we have a second to the motion to approve these established premiums?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Moved and seconded to approve this motion for the established premiums. Comments or questions from board members? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. The seventh motion is to approve contract extension with Independence Blue Cross to provide medical and prescription coverage for fiscal years ending June 30th for 2017, 2018, and 2019.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded by Mrs. Cullen. Comments or questions from board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. Eighth, a motion to approve the stop-loss renewal agreement with RMTS Nationwide for fiscal year 2016, the $200,000 specific deductible, and a premium of $517,309.
Do we have a second to that motion? Thank you, Mr. Kraus. Moved and seconded to approve the stop-loss renewal agreement. Comments or questions from board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. Ninth motion is to approve the group life and AD&D with Lincoln Financial for fiscal year 2016, 2017. The life rate is 7.7 cents per thousand of coverage, and the AD&D rate is less than one, it's a little less than 2 cents, 0.018 per thousand.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Regola. Moved and seconded to approve the group life and AD&D insurance rates. Comments or questions from board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. 10, the motion to approve WageWorks amendment, unreimbursed medical expenses rollover provision.
Do we have a second to the WageWorks amendment? Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Moved and seconded to approve this amendment. Comments or questions from board members? Nope. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. 11 is a motion to accept and approve renewal quotes. This is a motion 11A through J. Motion to accept and approve renewal quotes from PSBA Insurance Trust.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cullen. Moved and seconded to approve the renewal quotes for PSBA Insurance Trust. Comments or questions from board members? Not. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. Number 12, 12A through I. Motion to approve contracts as listed below.
Do we have a second to the motion to approve the 9 contracts listed?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Moved and seconded to approve these contracts. Comments or questions from board members? No? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. Number 13 is a motion to approve the settlement agreement for student identified as 2016-56.
Do we have a second to this motion? Thank you. I'll take Mrs. Schmidt's moved and seconded to approve the settlement agreement. Comments or questions from board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. Number 14 is a motion to approve student activity accounts as listed below. That will be 14A through double M. Is that how we would say that, double M?
Okay, do we have a second for these renewals or carryover or closing of the various student activity accounts? Thank you, Mrs. Clemens, Ms. Clemens. Moved and seconded to approve these activity accounts and whatever the changes or carryover is. Comments or questions from board members? No. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. Number 15, a motion to approve technology, four-year technology list with ADP, four-year lease for $194,261.85 annually. Also, I made a mistake in the beginning of that. It's motion 15, A through C.
Do we have a second to approve the technology lease motion? Thank you, Mr. Kraus. Moved and seconded to approve the technology lease motion. Comments or questions from board members? Mrs. Venus Clements.
Yes, I would just like to comment that because it would be less expensive to purchase and own them as opposed to leasing them for 4 years, although I support the technology that we're purchasing, I'm a no for that. And could you please let the record reflect my reasoning? Thank you.
Anyone else who wants to comment on this motion that's on the table? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 8-1. Thank you. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. Motion number 16 is a motion to approve purchase orders as listed below. Once again, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's 16A and B.
Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Cullen? Moved and seconded to approve this motion. Comments or questions from board members? Not. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. Number 17 is a motion to accept and award the following bids, RFPs. It's 17A through I, but I'm not sure at the bottom of the list, it looks like there's a second I carried over on the second page. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be I1 or II. Captain. You see that, Sean?
Yeah, it's one, it's just one.
So it ends at I, that's the motion. And the highlighted price per unit as listed per vendor is not relevant?
No, it goes with I,
It goes with I.
the first I. No, the second.
It's I and sub-I.
Yeah.
So let's start that again. So it's number 17, motion to accept and award the following bids, A through I.
Okay, do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Moved and seconded to approve the bids A through I. Comments or questions from board members? Not. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0 with 3 ayes.
I knew that was going to happen.
Mr. Casper?
Okay. Number 18 is a motion to approve the 2016-17 lunch prices as listed below. 18, that's A through G.
Do we have a second to that motion? Thank you, Mr. Kraus. Moved and seconded to approve the 2016-2017 lunch prices as listed below. And I believe these are the same as they were the prior year. So are there any other comments or questions on this motion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. 19, motion to approve bank depositories as listed below for the 2016-2017 fiscal year, 19A through K.
Thank you. Second to that motion. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Moved and seconded to approve the list of bank depositories. Again, I believe these are the same as we have used in at least the past year.
Correct.
Thank you. Comments or questions from board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. Number 20 is a motion to approve the cooperative purchasing participation as listed below for the 2016-17 fiscal year, and that's 20A through H.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Moved and seconded to approve the cooperative purchasing participation list. Comments or questions from board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper, you're almost done.
Yep. Last one, number 21, but it's the important one. It's a motion to approve the business office to make payments of all bills received and payable through June 30th, 2016 as necessary. Bill lists will be forwarded to all board members prior to the release of the checks. Any checks in question will be resolved before they are released for payment.
Thank you. Do we have a second to this motion? Thank you, Mrs. Cullen. Moved and seconded to approve the business office payments of bills. Comments or questions from board members? I would note that this is largely due to the fact that we do not have, officially, at least as yet, have a full board meeting scheduled for July. Any other comments or questions? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Casper?
Thank you. The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for July 13th, 2016.
Thank you. Next item would be activities. Mrs. Yardley?
Okay, so the Activities Committee met tonight prior to the board meeting. We have one motion which wasn't on tonight's agenda, was at a previous agenda. We were waiting for more information. So I'd like to make a motion to recommend the approval of the following overnight trip: Magic Music Days, Pennridge High School Marching Band, Jazz Band, Indoor Drumline, and Indoor Color Guard, Orlando, Florida, from Wednesday, March 22nd, 2017 to March 26th, 2017.
Thank you. Do we have a second to the motion for the trip, the music organization trip?
Second.
We have lots of those. I'll take you, Mr. Bergomo. Thank you. Moved and seconded to approve this overnight trip. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Sorry.
I'd just like to be clear on what we're voting on here tonight, and this is for the dates only, right? Mrs. Yardley?
Yeah, that's what Dr. Price had said, that because we have, I guess with the new person taking over the trip, and so there's still more information coming in, so we're approving the dates for the trip so that the organization can get started with their fundraising.
Yes, and the contract would come before you when it's signed and ready to go anyway, so that will be coming separately. You have an opportunity to look at that when you need to. But we do want to get them started. They waited patiently, and at this point, they want to get some fundraising started so we can actually have students ready to go on this trip. So,
I agree.
so thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mrs. Yardley?
The next Activities Committee meeting is scheduled for September 14th, 2016. Thank you.
Thank you. Curriculum Committee. We did have a rather lengthy Curriculum Committee meeting on June 13th. We discussed a number of items, in particular scheduling studies that are ongoing in both the middle and high school. We don't have any motions concerning that tonight. Those are ongoing and will be perhaps come before us either in the summer or sometime next school year. But we do have several other motions that were discussed at that particular meeting and the prior meeting. The first motion I'd like to make is to end the district contract with Bridges Cyber, which is sponsored by the Bucks County Intermediate Union. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Baines-Clemens. Moved and seconded. Comments or questions from board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. A corresponding motion, the second motion, is to contract with the Quakertown School District's online academy. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mrs. Baines-Clemens, was that you? Yes, thank you. Moved and seconded to approve the contract with Quakertown School District. Comments or questions from board members? No? I'm sorry. Yes.
Sorry, I have a comment. I would just like to thank Dr. Scheid for all of her work on this and for getting us good pricing. I know that she really worked hard on this and really got a good contract for us, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Be careful, you may have to negotiate other things. Okay, any other comments or questions about this particular contract? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. The next motion is to approve the Donors Choose application for Mrs. Peg Volak, who is a second grade teacher at Grass Elementary School. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Perdomo. Moved and seconded to approve the Donors Choose application. Comments or questions from board members? No? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Next is a motion to approve the development of a district SEL curriculum. Do we have a second to that motion? Second. Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Moved and seconded to approve this SEL curriculum, or the development of it. Comments or questions from board members?
Yeah, I
Sorry,
have a
Mrs.
question. So I believe the meeting was already held for the development, so I was wondering if we would get an update on that. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Mrs. Yardley. I am very happy to report that we did meet. Elementary and middle school teachers met last week. Last week, and we had wonderful discussions. The day went very well. We have good ideas. We have a format, and with the approval of the school board, we'll develop that curriculum and then bring the curriculum to the curriculum committee meeting in the fall. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions about this particular item?
Could you define that for the public, please? SEL doesn't mean anything to the public.
Do you want to, Dr. Radigan is the expert. I'll let her give you the definition.
Just what SEL stands for.
SEL is social and emotional learning curriculum.
Thank you.
And I believe there are at least 10 specific characteristics that the
Right, our district
committee is going to address.
has instituted for 2 years now, 2 full years, we've had the Takes Pride initiative. Every month we reinforce a different characteristic that all the research shows are characteristics that will help our young people to be successful, whether it's in school or on a job or in their relationships. So yes, Dr. Yurnell, you are correct. What the group was working on the other day at the elementary level and the middle school level is lessons to reinforce those characteristics.
Thank you. We'll move to item, I'm sorry. We need a motion or a vote on this. Sorry. Any other comments or questions on this particular item? Not. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Dr. Scheid, good luck with this effort, and we look forward to hearing from you in the fall.
Thank you, Dr. Yarnell. We're all very excited about it, and we will be back with plenty to talk about. The lesson development actually went very, very well, and we're excited.
Okay. Thank you. The last motion is to approve the adoption of all school textbooks for the past year per Section 803 of the Pennsylvania Code. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. I will explain that this is a rather arcane provision in the school code adopted in 1949. Must be done each year by every public school district between April 1 and August 1, and includes, regardless of whether such adoption has already been held individually, includes all the books that we approve over the course of the school year. So this is a rather perfunctory activity, but one that is required by law. Any other comments or questions on this? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. The next committee meeting for the curriculum is scheduled officially for September 19th, but I believe Dr. Scheid is working on a July meeting, so we should stay tuned for, or anyone who wants to participate in that and should stay tuned. I believe July the 11th, is that the date that we believe is the correct date?
I didn't get the final answer. That was one of the recommended dates, which is perfectly fine on my part. So I think we'll confirm that and get that information out to everybody. Thank you.
Okay. So that concludes the curriculum committee meeting, and the next item is facilities. Mrs. Schmidt.
Thank you, Dr. Yarnell. The Facilities Committee met on June 6th. There's one motion tonight. It's a motion to obsolete items listed A through E.
Do we have a second for the obsolescence motion? Thank you, Mrs. Cullen. Moved and seconded to obsolete items A through E. Comments or questions from board members? None? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mrs. Schmidt.
The next Facilities Committee meeting is scheduled for July 13th.
Thank you. The intermediate unit, Mrs. Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Yarnell. We met on May 20th. We met on May 17th. I'd like to mention on May 20th, Ross County IU hosted the annual legislative breakfast, bringing legislators, school board directors, and administrators together to discuss topics important to our district, such as PSERS, the state budget, plan con, etc. Lots of lively discussion, Dr. Yell, but not many answers, correct?
Exactly.
In the Program and Services report, we learned how the student forum, comprised of 11th and 12th grade student representatives from participating public, non-public, technical high schools, meet monthly and serve as a student voice on issues and concerns affecting Bucks County schools. This year, the students completed several media projects for dissemination on topics such as youth suicide prevention, environmental awareness, youth gambling, and drug and alcohol prevention. The Reading Olympics, now in its 23rd year, had 362 teams with over 4,000 students reading 55,000 books. I see glasses in their future. On May 4th, over 100 students representing a wide range of disabilities came to the IU to participate in the Employability Expo, which provided practice for job interviews, dressing for success, social skills in the workplace, and interview etiquette. In early June, 30 students graduated as part of the class of 2016. 9 students are moving on with employment. Great, congratulations to them. And 2 are attending Bucks County Community College. How awesome is that? Yes, isn't that great? The 6th Annual Girls STEM Conference was held on May 26th at Del Valle University, as we know. It is designed to inspire young women to pursue STEM-related careers. The event included 800 young women, grades 6 through 10, and funded entirely by donations. May is designated as Better Hearing and Speech Month, and some important serious statistics were shared with the board. Hearing loss is the most common birth defect. Over 12,000 babies a year are born with permanent hearing loss. 3 out of every 1,000 babies will need special help to learn to listen and speak. Even a mild hearing loss can adversely impact the student's ability to access their education. Early detection and intervention can prevent delays in listening, speech, language, learning, and social and emotional development. The Bucks County IU is firmly committed to listening for a lifetime through their direct educational teams throughout our 13 districts. As a point of interest, as you recall, attention was recently drawn to our own policy, number 916, governing clearances and TV screenings for all volunteers. At the recent IU board meeting, this very topic was discussed, and it was confirmed that yes, these clearances and screenings, as Mr. Cox has advised us, are required by the state, and all 13 districts across Bucks County are in strict adherence to this policy. No givebacks. The next meeting is scheduled for June 21st at 7 p.m. and it is held at the Doylestown location. Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel, Mr. Gold.
Thank you, Dr. Yarnell. There's 2 motions. The first motion is to approve the professional development sabbatical leave for employee 9416 for the second semester of the 2016-17 school year and the first semester of the 2017-18 school year in accordance with section 11-1166 of the Public School Code.
Thank you. Do we have a second to this motion for the professional development sabbatical leave?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Moved and seconded to approve the motion. Comments or questions for board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Regomo?
Thank you. The second motion is to approve a professional development sabbatical leave for employee 8747 for the 2016-17 school year in accordance with section 11-1166 of the Public School Code.
Thank you. Do we have a second to this motion on professional development sabbatical leave?
I'll second.
Again, thank you, Mrs. Miller. Moved and seconded to approve this sabbatical leave. Comments or questions from board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Regomo?
The next Personnel Committee is scheduled to meet September 14, 2016.
Thank you. Policy Review Committee, Mrs. Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Yunel. We did not meet, and our next meeting is scheduled for July 5th, 2016.
And would you also address the Upper Bucks County Technical School Committee?
Yes, I will. Thank you. The Bucks County Technical School met twice, on May 19th and June 16th. Bern Wagensell, our executive director, shared we are the recipients of several grants this past year, the Perkins Grant, Equipment Grant, and the Supplemental Grant, and all grants are competitive, so kudos to them. Previously, there was discussion among Mr. Wagenseller and the Quakertown School District about the possibility of installing solar panels at the UBCTS At the recent meeting on June 16, Mr. Paul Stepanoff, President of the Quakertown Board and the Richland Business Manager, presented to the board and offered his services as a consultant. As reported last month, UPCTS was selected by Temple University's Office of Executive Leadership and Education as America's sole representative at the International Technical Education Workshop located in China. Kathleen Plesnarski, Assistant Executive Director, and Dr. Bridget O'Connell, Superintendent of Palisades, presented to the board about the event. Presented at that event. At a recent meeting, they provided a slideshow with commentary to the board on their shared experiences. It should be noted Upper Bucks will now be in position to build relationships with more Chinese tech schools, possibly leading to a future student exchange system or program and other opportunities for our students. A motion was passed approving the food service contract between the VOTEC and Pennridge for another year. Projected enrollment for the 2016-17 school year is expected to increase from 690 to 721 students, and Ridge is sending 251 students. The NOCD NIMS scores are showing an upward trend thanks to a well-developed plan, and our next meeting is scheduled for August 18th at a public meeting. We are scheduled for the executive meeting before that. August 18th, 7:30 at the Ridge Road location.
Thank you. Technology, Mr. Kraus.
Thank you, Dr. Yarnell. The Technology Committee did not meet, and our next scheduled meeting for the Technology Committee is September 19th, 2016.
Thank you. Act 48, Mrs. Banis Clemens.
Thank you, Dr. Yarnell. The Act 48 committee has not met since our last board meeting, and it is scheduled for the next meeting on October 6th. Thanks.
Thank you. Ad hoc fundraising, Mrs. Miller, Mrs. Yardley.
So the ad hoc committee met on May 25th, and the main agenda item was a presentation from Jeff Bertoni of the Market Street Sports Group, and I believe Dr. Price sent out information to all the board members about that. And so it requires more discussion, and at the committee we had talked about perhaps having it at a facilities or a finance committee to continue the discussion with the board. And the next committee meeting will be scheduled as needed.
Thank you. The Pennridge Area Coordinating Committee, Mrs. Banis Clemens.
Thank you, Dr. Yarnell. The PAC committee met on May 26, 2016. All 8 Pennridge municipalities have adopted support for resolutions in an effort to amend the Sterling Act to bring more local tax dollars back to local governments, and they're hoping to get some support from us to follow suit with that. Silverdale has noted that the borough has approved bids for their park improvements and completed paperwork for Dunkin' Donuts land development. They also initiated consideration of traffic calming on Green Street coming from Hilltown. They also provided us with a summer concert schedule, and they would like to share that with the community. They have concerts in the park. They have the Quakertown Band coming on June 5th. Well, they had it on June 5th. July 17th, a Jazz Sanctuary Quintet and the Alan Segal Quintet. And on August 7th, the River of Dreams, which is Billy Joel by request. More information can be found on the Silverdale Borough website, as well as the Pennridge Chamber of Commerce website. In West Rock Hill, they're seeking to have the M&M Quarry site secured. They approved a second baseball field, which I think is almost complete over at the park in West Rock Hill. They approved a Compassionate Friends garden area in the park and announced that the Holiday House pool opened on Memorial Day. In Bedminster, they're still working on a police contract and refurbishing the police building. The Weiss Market site is being cleared, and sewer plant upgrades should be, with sewer plant upgrades it should be able to move forward. They've awarded road program bids and Toll Brothers will be building athletic fields and a trail on the administrative building site. They're completing sewer line upgrades in the Stone Bridge development and anticipate getting $32,000 from FEMA for the Jonas hurricane. In East Rock Hill, they are also getting $20,000 from FEMA for that storm. They're moving forward with their effort to provide a trail through the Pennridge School District property by approving the development of a plan, and they plan to apply for a DCED grant that only requires a 15% match. They have accepted bids for 2016 road projects and are working to preserve the former Camp Tohikani Girls Scout campgrounds. From the Pennridge Chamber of Commerce, they reported that Betty Graver has returned as their executive director, and they are considering increasing representation from the entire Pennridge community. They are looking to help everyone in the community kind of bring attention to some of our local businesses that we have in Pennridge, and they want to remind everyone that they have a website, pennridge.com, where they communicate with all of the municipalities and try to post all events for all municipalities on that website. And they would appreciate everyone trying to use that as a central location to post events as well as look for events. And they're also hosting some business after hours events to kind of bring some attention to some of the local businesses. One of them is actually on the 22nd on Wednesday at Bucks County Soapstone. So they would appreciate everyone to come out and attend and support our local businesses. And as far as that Pennridge.com website, they were hoping that maybe we could try to kind of bring the community, bring that to the community's attention as well, and maybe even having a link on our website to their website that their website calendar that shows what events are taking place in the community. And another request that was made from the Pennridge Chamber of Commerce, as well as some others in the meeting, was maybe having a calendar on our website that has all of the sporting events for all of our sports, because there's many people who don't have kids in the district anymore who would love to come out and see some of the games. And so they were hoping that we could start to post all of that in one location so that they could see and start to attend some of our sporting events.
Thank you.